what advice maybe you would have to some newer or younger head coaches out there who maybe haven't had the kind of success they'd hope for early on in their career?
I mean, yeah, being at the Senior Bowl, it's not always the most fun thing for a coach because the season just ended and you like to get away for a little bit, but it's a huge advantage. You get to go there, get a head start on a bunch of guys. People are scouts and everyone have already been looking at, and you get to meet a lot of people, which can really help you. Usually when you're there, you know you got to add some people to your team, which we've been doing for the 3 years we've been here, and I think going to that Senior Bowl helped us out a lot. You know, we added a few guys from that team. You find out about a few guys that you don't want to add also, which helps. But, you know, I mean, look how much Debo's helped us this year, and it would be hard for us to do what we did to go get him if we wouldn't have spent some time with him like that.
All right, we've got Cam Inman over here.
Hi, Kyle. What kind of unique challenges does Tyrann Mathieu pose for you when you're designing your game plan and what your offense has to watch out for with Tyrann?
A ton. I got a ton of respect for him. Played him a number of times. He was a really good player in Arizona. Got to go against him in Houston where he was good, and I feel like he's playing at the top of his game right now. So I was hoping it wouldn't be like that, but after turning on the tape last week, it is. He's one of the main reasons that they're playing so well on D. He's athletically, he's very good. He can cover receivers, he can cover tight ends, he can cover anybody. That's why he gets away playing as a nickel back and a safety. He's extremely smart. The disguises he does sometimes seems like he would be out of position, but he always gets back into position. So he's as good of a safety as there is in this league.
Sorry, front row right.
Coach, the Patriots' comeback in Super Bowl 51 was one of those freakish things where they had to get every break and everything had to go right for a quarter and a half. Is there anything that you learned from that you can carry forward here, or is it just pain?
No, I mean, that's what you learn. I think anyone can learn a lot of stuff from that game. I mean, no matter how much you get up on someone, you got to keep moving the chains to keep the ball from going back. So you better convert a third down or do extremely well on first and second down. You're going to keep giving it back to them. When you're playing against a quarterback like Tom Brady, you got to do some things to get him off the field also. So he was unbelievable in that game, as good as any quarterback I've ever seen play a game, and he's had a lot of good ones. But the way he was on third down, the way he was just automatic, I thought our coverages were tight, and he still seemed to hit everybody. So it just shows no matter what, how good you have to play to beat a good team and a good player and a good coach like that.
Back left, gentleman in the plaid. Yep, go ahead.
Kyle, how would you describe your offensive philosophy? And considering how many different styles there might be, why do you believe that this is the right one?
I mean, you try to have a foundation, which I guess is what your offense is, which is run games you believe in, some play actions off of it, a keeper system, some dropbacks you start with in training camp. But it's just a foundation of stuff. But then you get into the year, and it's just all about what you're going against. So, our philosophy is just, it depends what the defensive philosophy is. We're trying to attack in everything we do, whatever their fronts are, whatever their coverages are. So you're always changing and evolving in that, but you also can't reinvent the wheel every week, or your players aren't going to be very good at it. So you got to have a foundation of certain things that they do and they work at all the time. And you just got to be able to find ways through the words you use and the formations that mix people up and change responsibilities so you can give them an advantage based off of what you're going against.
On the right-hand side, outside blue shirt.
Kyle, how did Wes Welker come to join your staff in the off-season, and what has he brought to your team this year?
I've been a fan of Wes for a long time. Got to play against him when he was at Tech and I was at Texas, so I always knew of him then. Followed him a ton going into the NFL. I remember trying to hype him up a ton and draft meetings and stuff when I was in Tampa, just knowing how good he was. And then watching his career and just how everywhere he's gone better and better, and having the Hall of Fame career that he did, I don't think just comes off of just being born to do that. And obviously he's an extremely talented guy, but he worked at it and understood football so well. That's what made him so great. And then when I heard he got into coaching, I was always intrigued. And I knew that he had put in a few years down there in Houston. And when our receiver job came open, he was a guy I was just very interested in talking to. So when Billy let us talk to him, we brought him in for an interview. And after we interviewed him, we didn't have to interview anyone else.
All right, Chris Biederman, second row middle.
Kyle, you've talked about how much you rely on Mike McDaniel and Mike LaFleur for your game planning, but how would you describe your personal relationship with each of those guys, given how long you've worked with them?
Well, yeah, we've gotten close over the years. I mean, it didn't start out that way. You know, Kubiak brought Mike McDaniel to Houston. That's where I first met him, and I was a receiver coach my first year there, and he was a quality control and kind of the assistant receiver coach always was around with me and then followed me with quarterbacks. And then when I went to, then Matt LaFleur came in, so I got to meet Matt and developed a relationship with him. And Mike was always visiting us up in Washington. He was a coordinator at Division II school. And then when I went to Cleveland, I brought Mike with me there to be the quality control, and he had followed me to Atlanta and then here. And, you know, those guys got in the building through other people, and then just getting to know them. They were so impressive, smart, worked so hard, ate up everything that we said, even stuff I would forget, they would remember. Stuff that I said, I'd be like, no, I think I said it this way, and they would correct me and say, no, you said it a different way a couple days ago. So they're awesome guys to keep around, how hard they worked, and then just everywhere they've gone, they've been along the whole time. So they've seen all the adjustments, how we've evolved on everything, and even the 3 years we've had together. I mean, they were a huge part their first 2 years, big time, but even this year they've been even bigger. I mean, I know I get a lot of credit for stuff that happens on offense and stuff, but those guys, they've taken a lot of that over. I mean, they do the majority of the game planning on Monday and Tuesday. I got to dabble in a bunch of stuff, and I'm spread a little more thin earlier in the week, which is something I used to stress about a lot. But giving these guys those responsibility, they've grown so much more in that way, and that's why I don't stress about it much anymore. They know what they're doing, and by the end of the week, we're all on the same page, and really helps me for Sunday.
Back right in the green shirt.
Hey, Kyle, here on your right. You've been asked a lot of questions the last couple weeks about the Super Bowl, the 28-3 loss, and you don't run from the questions. You give long, honest answers about some of the lessons you've learned and some of the things you wish to have back. And your players openly talk about how you use it as a teaching moment. Why has it been important for you to kind of embrace it instead of maybe running away from it?
Because I don't think there's anything to run away from. I'm very proud of that year. I was proud of our team. In Atlanta, I was very proud of our players. And I thought, well, we played a pretty darn good game. I mean, we were up 28-3 in the fourth, and we all know that we did not play well in the fourth, didn't coach well. But to sit there and run from something that, I'm not going to run from that. I mean, I'm very disappointed about losing a 28-3 game, and that was very hard on our entire team. I understand perception-wise how much I had to take of that, but I mean, I think I can deal with that. I've been able to. And I feel like knowing that has made me a little bit stronger. You don't always know what you can deal with and stuff. And I think it was harder for people who loved me, like my wife and family members and stuff, because they're very defensive of it and things like that. But, I mean, I was involved in the game. I know exactly what happened on every single play, and I know I can live with that. And I'm proud of a lot of that stuff. I know a ton of that year. So I would do it all over again. Maybe a play or so, I would call it differently. But I'll do it all over again, and I feel a lot stronger and better from it.
All right, Phil Barber, second row, middle.
Kyle, sort of a follow-up McDaniel-LaFleur question. You talked about how valuable they are to you. That's a lot of hands in the pot on offense when you add your obvious role, and I'm wondering how much of it is a division of labor and how much is it a collaboration amongst the three, and how do you manage to not get in each other's way when putting in the game plan?
That happens from a lot of trial and errors and from being together for a while. I mean, that's why I wanted to bring them here so bad. You know, when I first got here, you know, I knew it was going to take some time, and Mike had been a position coach twice. McDaniel, LaFleur had not been in the NFL yet. I didn't want them to go right from that to coordinator yet. I didn't think that was fair to put that all on them. But very quickly in their roles and how they acted the first year, they both were coordinators. So that's why they earned that role as run game coordinator and pass game coordinator. I think it's funny, everyone asks every year where they're going to go. I mean, they're our coordinators, so they have coordinator jobs. Is what I keep telling people, but I don't think I'll have those guys forever. They got the capability to be head coaches. They're very smart in what they do, and you know, we put a lot of time in together. We've gone through a lot of things together, and that's not something you can just teach someone. That's something you got to go through, and I think we all know how each other think, and when it's like that, it's not that messy. I mean, someone knows what I'm thinking, what I'm expecting, and I can talk to someone, and I know how they're going to go relay it to someone else, and that doesn't happen just from liking someone or being together for a year or so. That happens together by going through a lot of stuff together.
All right, front row here, left.
Coach, what's going to be the biggest takeaway from this whole experience if it doesn't end in your guys' favor?
Whatever the experience is. I mean, you take away something from every day. You know, a lot of people, I mean, whoever loses the Super Bowl is going to be very upset. It's going to take a while to get over. And if you're scared of failure and you're scared of the pain that it will feel, then this sport is not for you. I'm just pumped to have the opportunity, and we're going to give it everything we have. And well, yeah, if you come up short, that's going to hurt a lot because we put a lot into it. But I'll take that gamble anytime someone gives us the opportunity.
All right, we've got the gentleman in the front here.
Kyle, good afternoon, Federico Olvera, Mexico City. Kyle, will becoming the first father and son duo to win the Super Bowl give you a little extra motivation to win the game on Sunday? And what does that mean to you, and what are your feelings about it?
I mean, I think that's pretty separate. I mean, if we get the opportunity to win the Super Bowl, I mean, I think those feelings are something I'll try to explain then. I think it would be a very special thing that is something that I've gone through with our team. And everyone we coach with, everyone we play with, everyone in our building. Just the grind has been this year, the grind has been for 3 years. And that's really what you think about if you end up winning a game like that. But I know when it's all said and done, and my dad and I have had a great relationship. We've been through a lot of stuff together, and it means a lot to me just how his career went. And I'm glad that I can have some success and make him proud in that way. But I mean, if we get the opportunity to win a Super Bowl, I mean, I'm going to be thinking about the 49ers at that time.
All right, second row, Jennifer Chan.
Having installed the game plan, as if you're going to play on Sunday, what has this week been for you like? And at halfway through this week, how are the players?
Oh, it's awesome. I wish the players could have 2 weeks every week to do a game plan. I mean, for them to come out on a Wednesday today and just be firing on all cylinders, it's not usually like that. Usually we put in a game plan Wednesday morning, and there's a lot of mistakes and stuff. Wednesday walkthrough, more in practice, and you got to kind of catch up as the week goes, and usually feel pretty good by Saturday. But when you get a whole week to go through it, you feel a lot better. I mean, we put in a couple new things today, took out some stuff we didn't like last week, but I think it takes a little bit of the pressure off the guys because they've had plenty of time to study and do stuff, and there's a little more things here that you got to deal with. So it's nice to have gotten most of that out of the way, and now they're just doing the little extra details that'll make them a little more comfortable on Sunday.
Matt Mayo on the front here.
Kyle, how did Tevin Coleman look today in practice, and what are the things that you look for from the running backs during the course of the week that kind of give you an idea of which guy or which guys are going to step forward on Sundays?
I mean, you always want to look at the health of the guys, and Tevin looked good today. I mean, it's a shoulder injury, so there's no issues with his legs and stuff, and he's running very well, like he always does when he's healthy. So we'll see as the week goes how much the pain tolerances and stuff for his shoulder. But just every week with backs, I mean, running backs in this league take a beating and stuff, so you want to watch them throughout the week, just how their legs are, how smooth they're running. I mean, we're not tackling or anything out there, but how much do they press their blocks? How much do they hit the right hole? How much can they do at full speed without having to slow down and come to a stop before they cut? So most of our guys are in a pretty good groove every week. That's why I go into games not truly set on, hey, this guy's going to get all of them. When we go in, our guys are so very similar, and they all could be our number one back at any time that it's not as stressful of a decision as you guys would think for us because they've all done such a good job.
All right, we got time for two more. Lady in the back right, white jacket.
Kyle, just to follow up on that practice question, how have you maintained that mindset that you guys have had all season to not get too high and not get too low? How have you managed to maintain that this week amidst the craziness? And then what are your goals for the remainder of the week?
I mean, the goals are just keep everything the same, and I think that's also the answer to your first question too. I mean, you try not to make stuff up. You know, we're going to the Super Bowl, which is a big deal. We recognize that. You kind of address that our first meeting after the NFC Championship game. I tried to tell the guys, you know, you can admit it. It does feel good to win NFC Championship. It feels good to go to the Super Bowl. I hope you guys enjoyed 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, of feeling really good about yourself. Now check your ego out the door because that is over. That'll be very short-lived if we don't find a way to win this game. And it's all about winning this game and nothing else. When you guys go down there, there'll be a lot of stuff up. There'll be nicer signs around us and more people asking questions. There'll be a couple more interview sessions we have to go to. But besides that, everything else is exactly the same. And that's how the game goes, too. And there's going to be a lot more people on the sidelines. It'll be a longer day for us, just waiting for it. But once that ball snaps, it's just a football game of two really good teams. And anything else that you put in your mind is going to not help you win that game.
All right, last question here, Art in the front.
Kyle, Richard Sherman gets obviously a lot of attention because of his personality. Could you describe his defense and what he's contributed to this team?
Richard is one of the smarter players I've been around. I think he gets a lot of attention because how good his career's been, how well he's played. He's been on championship teams. He's on another team that's got a chance to win a championship. He's very articulate, much more articulate than myself and probably anybody else in our room except this other Stanford guys like our GM. But Richard's game is just, he knows how to play football. He knows when to take his shots. He knows when to be aggressive. He knows when to be conservative. He knows how to do it all, and he plays the game within the game. He's a physical guy. He's not afraid of contact. He'll go up and support the run. He'll be physical with receivers. And he also, even though he seems wound up a lot and will black out sometimes during games, there's also a control to him, too, that makes him play like a very smart player.
All right, folks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Left. Oh, you guys directed this time. I like it. I'm blessed.
How do you think you've changed, or have you changed since 6 years ago when you were pretty much introduced to the world after that NFC Championship game?
I don't know. I'm a father now. I guess that's your biggest change, and that changes you in a lot of things fundamentally, and it gives you more patience, more understanding, changes your perspective a bit. Got married, and just kind of stayed the course, went through the Achilles surgery, went through getting cut. So I guess experiences have changed me and moved the needle a little bit for me.
Richard, a lot of your teammates have credited you for bringing a physical mentality to the secondary. What does increased physicality do for a defense when corners and safeties are able to support in the run game?
Well, it's just part of playing great defense. It's part of playing fast defense. I think in the NFL there's a certain reputation for corners and that you're not supposed to be physical. You don't have to tackle hard. You just kind of get in the way or you fall at a guy, and that's not how I think it should go. And that's not how good defense goes. The corners come up, they play physical. The safeties play physical. They play the run game. Linebackers play the run in the pass. The safeties play both, and so everybody's involved in setting the tone. And so as a corner, you see somebody catch the ball in the flat, or you see a running back coming up, you lay everything you got into him.
Richard on the left.
All right.
Richard, there was a new secondary coach that joined the team this year, Joe Woods. What impact has he had on the group and you in particular? And if he moves along to a bigger job ahead, how great a loss would that be to the team?
Well, he's been outstanding. He's just been very, very focused on technique. That's the thing that Joe focuses on every single day. It's not really the schematic stuff because we're playing the scheme. Guys understand the scheme, but it's the technique, it's the footwork, it's the hand placement, it's the body position, it's the how we're playing stacks, how we're playing bunches. And I'd be happy for him if he got another chance to coordinate a defense. He deserves it, obviously. It'd be a loss, but I'm sure this scheme and this system has a lot of great coaches that have coached it, and he deserves that. Daniel Bullocks is still with us, and maybe he'll get a promotion as well, and you just be happy for those guys. I don't think you think about, oh man, is it a big loss and what's going to change, because the scheme's going to be the scheme's going to be the same. Guys are going to still be in the positions they're in, but you're happy that they're getting the respect and the money that they deserve.
Josh, there's been a lot of talk about going to a 17-game season in the new CBA. How do you view that as a player, and
Yeah, I think it's just speculation at this point. You know, I think it's the owners using the media and the way owners use the media to try to control the rhetoric. And I don't think it's something that players are interested in, honestly. And if that's the point they're negotiating on, I think these negotiations are going to go a lot longer than anticipated, because it's odd to me, and it's always odd when you hear player safety is their biggest concern, and they're really standing up for player safety, but it seems like player safety has a price tag. You know, player safety up to the point of, hey, 17 games makes us this much money, so we really don't care how safe they are if you're going to pay us this much money to play another game. And so that's the part that's really concerning for us as a union and us as players, because they think that players have a price tag on their health, and I don't think we're in the same ballpark in that regard. Players have been more aware of player safety and longevity and just life after football. The league, you know, kind of pretends that they're interested in it, pretends that they care about it, you know, makes all these rules, fines all these players, but then still proposes to players to play an extra game, and not just 17. They're really just saying 17 so that they can get to 18. And so that's 2 more opportunities for players to risk their bodies, to put their bodies on the line. And that's what's so ridiculous about it. And nobody calls them out. Nobody calls out the hypocrisy. And I'm hoping that one day, you know, people will be brave enough to call out the hypocrisy of saying, hey, we really care about player safety, but hey, we also want you to play an extra game, put your body on the line, and risk your career.
Hey, Richard. Hey. Is Sunday the biggest challenge your secondary has faced this season? If so, what makes it that way?
I don't know. You know, it'll be a great challenge for sure. But to say it's the greatest challenge would almost to be disrespect some of the great passing games that we've played, because we've played some outstanding passing teams this year. We played the Saints and everything that Drew Brees had to bring. We played Tampa Bay, and early on in the season with their 2,000-yard receivers and everything that they brought. We played the Rams and Sean and his system and how they get things done. We played A-Rod twice. We've played some teams that can sling it around pretty good, some quarterbacks that can sling it, some receivers that are really talented. So we also played Atlanta with Matt and Julio, and they're outstanding. But these guys are fast and they're talented, so it'll be a great challenge for sure.
Richard in the middle. Hey, Richard.
Hey.
Hey, you said your son turns 5 3 days after the Super Bowl, and he wants a ring for his birthday.
Yeah, that's what he asked for.
How much more enjoyable has this experience been this time around with him able to understand kind of what's going on, and what's the plan for that present if you guys win?
Right. It's unbelievable. I mean, that's one of the best parts about this experience, you know, and that's what makes it so much different and so much, and it gives you so much more perspective because he's so aware of it. You know, it's not like he's an infant and he's just kind of getting drug around and doesn't really know what. He's fully aware. He's like, hey, that's a Super Bowl helmet. Hey, you guys are in the Super Bowl. If you win, you get the championship trophy. Like, he fully understands it, and that's what's so cool to me. When the second Super Bowl, the one we lost, he was you know, a few days from being born, and you know, thankfully he stuck in there because it's kind of a cool birthday. He's born on 2/5, which is, you know, it's kind of like I set it up that way, but whatever. But it really gives you something to fight for. It gives you something to go out there, and it'll be a special memory and something he'll remember forever if we're able to get it done.
Richard, good afternoon. Federico Olvera, Mexico.
Good afternoon.
You have been in a Super Bowl before. How does that experience help to you and your team to win the next Sunday? And the second, what are those things you love from the 49ers culture?
Well, you know, I'm one of those people who doesn't really subscribe to the notion that playing in a Super Bowl really helps you in the next one. I guess it gives you more experience to advise guys of what to expect throughout the week. But once you kick off and all the cameras flash one time, it ends up just being football. You know, when we won our first Super Bowl, we didn't have any experience. Nobody had been there. Nobody had played there, and we won by almost 40 points. And so I think that at the end of the day, guys just have to understand that, keep everything in perspective. Like, it's a football game. You're going to go out there and you're going to have an opponent. They're going to run their plays. You have to execute better at the end of the day. And if you execute better, you play longer, you strive harder, you strain, you have a chance of winning the ball game. And once you win it, you know, it's a special feeling.
Yeah. Hey, Richard, how you doing? Congratulations.
Good, and yourself. Thank you.
Just curious, take you back to the union again, union and owners. Do you think that players, particularly black players, should have more of a voice or raise their voices more when these coaching cycles come around? I don't know how much they pay attention to it, but do you think that they should add their voices to whether it's discontent or,
I'd say I'm a black player, and I say I've raised my voice about as loud as I can, and say it as much as I can. I spoke about it at Media Day, which is one of the biggest days you can say it. But I put more of the responsibility on you, on the media, because you're asking people who have no say in it. You're asking players, you know what I mean? We literally have no say in who gets hired, who gets fired. We have no say in whether we get hired or fired. But the people who have say, we don't pressure. The owners, we don't call, we don't push to get them. We don't when you have them in the meeting, nobody asks them the hard questions because you don't want to rub them the wrong way. You don't want to get on their bad side. So I almost say it's your fault that we don't have those answers, because none of you guys are asking them the hard questions. Everybody feels comfortable asking a player a hard question about, man, why aren't these black coaches getting jobs? Ask the dudes who hire. Ask the dudes who have all the power in the world to hire and fire these men. Then you'll get the answers. Or maybe we're not looking for the answers from those dudes because we kind of know what they are.
Hey, Richard.
Hey.
I think a lot of NFL players sort of have dual personalities off the field and on. It seems like perhaps even particularly strong in your case. And I'm just wondering, do you consciously flip a switch when you step on the field for a game, or does that switch flip itself, so to speak?
I think it kind of flips itself because it's just a natural competitiveness. And I don't even know if it's just the field. It's just when I'm in a competitive setting, when there's a win or a loss. And I think that's one of the things that my parents and teachers realized early on, that if you make it competitive, then I'll put everything I can into it. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be a spelling bee, it could be a quiz, it could be a paper, it could be, if you make it a competition, and I'll do my best to win it. And so I guess honestly, my mind gets in that mode anytime there's a competition. Obviously football is a more violent and kind of alpha male game that you got to take yourself to a certain place, especially, there's so much a discrepancy in sizes. You might have a guy who's 5'7", 160 run into a guy who's 6'6", 320, and I don't know many sports that have those kind of discrepancies. But yeah, I think, off the field, when I'm with my family, when I'm with my friends, when I'm not in a competitive environment, I'm an entirely different person, but, it's life.
Hey, Richard.
Hey.
I'm curious, what's it been like as a defensive player to see, through the course of your career, the league trend towards offensive explosion, offensive rule adjustments? As a defensive player, I'm curious how that's been mentally an adjustment for you guys.
When you're young, it's frustrating. When you're young, it's really frustrating because you're just like, man, they got you playing with your hands behind your back. But as you get older, you're just like, you kind of see what they're doing. You're like, the fans want them to score points. You're going to do your best to stop. No matter what you do, you're wrong. There's nobody who cheers for a 6-0 game. They're seeing a 6-0 game, they're like, oh my God, this is bad football. It's like, well, these guys are making some great defensive plays. They're hitting. They're playing discipline. There's 4 interceptions, and they're like, no, it's just sloppy offense. It's like, that's not necessarily true. But I think at the end of the day, this game is designed that way. And the NFL takes a poll. They got a feel for the fans, and the fans want more points. So every year the NFL looks at the points numbers, the averages, and they say, hey, either it's enough points or it's not enough, and they change the rules accordingly. And it's a job. You gotta roll with the punches.
You mentioned how are you? You mentioned your 2013 team earlier. Does this team remind you of that team at all in terms of youth, in terms of attitude that it has?
Yeah, I think the carefree and just guys that just play hard every game and the kind of underdog mentality of a lot of these players. A lot of these players are unheralded, undrafted, are kind of thrown away, are guys that were considered busts, are cut several times. I can go down the list of guys who have been kind of portrayed that way. You know, you got Raheem, you got Armstead, who people were saying just last year, like, why are we picking up his option? But now it's pretty obvious why they're picking up his option, and pretty obvious why John did what he did. But everybody's questioning it. Quan Alexander, they're saying, oh man, he's just a guy who misses a ton of tackles and he's injury prone. Like, why do we pick him up? And now you see he's one of the heartbeats of this team. Jimmy Ward, you know, I can keep going and keep going. Laken Tomlinson, Mike Person, Jimmy, you know, they every day they find something new to criticize Jimmy about. They never criticize his looks though, which is I can understand why. And I do see the similarities in that way. So it just makes for a really fun team to play for, because a bunch of guys who just really don't care, they go out there, they fight for one another every single day, and they let the chips fall where they may. You know, hard work and dedication is what all it comes down to.
Hey, Richard, how do you feel practice went today, and how have you guys maintained that even-keeled mindset this week that's kind of been a focal point for you all season amidst the craziness?
It went fantastic, actually. Today was one of our better practices, I would say. You know, I'll leave it up to the coaching staff to say. But everybody was really executing. It was a really sharp day. Defensively, we had a ton of turnovers, guys really on the details of what they're seeing and recognizing and playing fast and trusting one another. And that's what you expect. You know, you all hear all this talk about giving a team all this time to prepare, but you give a great defense this much time to prepare. It's going to be sharp. You know, guys are going to be on the details. They're going to be on every indicator, every personnel adjustment, every adjustment we make defensively. So it was a great practice. And we keep the mindset because it's just football, you know. This is, you know, the dog and pony show. You know, you got to run around. It's a reality TV show. You got to do what you're asked to do. But, you know, once that's said and done, you line up on the grass, you put your cleats on, and you let your chips fall.
You got time for two more on the line over here? Hey, Richard, how you doing?
I'm good.
Hey, your defensive line has been incredible this year, over 40 sacks. And we know the defensive line can cover up a lot of sins in the back end. Can you take us through a play specifically this year where you came back to when you came back to the huddle and said, "Ooh, thanks guys, appreciate that"?
Oh shoot! In the Minnesota game, I forget what part of the game it was on, but it was Eric's sack. Eric only had one sack in the game, but it was a max protect look, and for some reason they thought they could block Eric one-on-one. Mistake. But Diggs had run a double move, and he had run it really well, and he had got it. Like Jimmy was on it. Jimmy was on the angle. He probably would have, you know, it'd been a bang play. Yeah. But we didn't have to worry about it because he got hit in the face. And Eric, as soon as that happened, I went to Eric. I said, "Man, you saved the day." Again, he didn't know what was going on, but you know, it was a cool play.
Art in the front, last one. Richard, I know you mentioned this earlier in the week. You had a relationship with Kobe, and obviously a very sobering thing. Could you discuss how you met Kobe and what you heard when the accident happened, the crash happened, how you found out?
Well, I met Kobe at a Nike shoot in 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. I was going to a shoot, and Cliff King, my Nike rep, was like, "Hey, Kobe's going before you. You want to go in the meeting?" I was like, "Come on now, like there's nothing more I want to do than meet Kobe. Like y'all can throw the shoot away. I just want to meet Kobe." And when I met him, you know, they always say the saying is like, don't meet your heroes because, you know, they'll disappoint you. They'll, you know, do something to not live up to your expectations. And Kobe more than exceeded my expectations. One of the most genuine guys. He knew of me. We had conversations about, you know, obviously the success I was having. And he really liked my approach to the game and how, you know, my dogged mentality. And I ended up having him play in my charity softball game a couple months later, and that was even more cool because he had never really played the sport, didn't really know how to play baseball. He hits a home run, of course, on his first at bat, and it's like, okay, you never played, Kobe, but a home run on the first at bat, like what? But we ended up forming a close relationship and just having conversations, and him encouraging me and pushing that mentality, and I just know he wouldn't have wanted me to be sad and to mourn and to not take advantage of this op. You know, when you have conversations like we did, you really get a feel for what he values and who he is. And he was a great man, a great father, a great player. But I just felt like basketball was going to be the thing he was known least for once he was all said and done, man. And he was finally starting to reach his peak. Outside of that, you know, he wanted to be known as a great father, a great businessman, a great philanthropist, and and I know he was headed in that direction. It's just sad that we won't get to see his true, his true potential come to fruition.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.